And now, to take us into our session post-lunch, ladies and gentlemen, a session that says how DOOH can work the magic for media owners and brands. To tell us more, please join me in welcoming onto stage the CEO, the COO of Hypermedia Dubai. He's right here with us. Please put your hands together for Mr. Bill Fordyce.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Is this on? First of all, I'd like to thank our organizers. It's been a fascinating couple days for me. I'd also like to thank the organizers for giving me the slot where everyone comes back after lunch is tired. But thank you very much for the hype. Today, I'm going to briefly introduce you about my company, because many of you may not know my company. Of course, you wouldn't, because I'm based in Dubai. And then tell you a little bit about the market in the UAE and the Middle East, and how digitalization is affecting malls and mall business, as well as and some of these new technologies we're looking at implementing. So, my company is made up of three main departments. Very briefly, we are a malls company. We're not a traditional billboard company. I don't own a single billboard. So I don't say I'm outdoor. I say that I'm a retail-focused out-of-home company. And we manage most of the malls in the UAE. Now it's 27 malls. We operate about 800 digital screens, large format LED, LCD down to 65-inch and 70-inch. I know many of you are very familiar with Dubai due to the country's close relationships. So just so you know, we have every mall except the Dubai Mall, basically. And in addition to digital, we have static advertising as well as promotional stands. The company was founded about 15 years ago. We started with in-store advertising, and it's still a core part of our company. We're partnered with Lulu, with Carrefour, and all the major hypermarkets. We have about 75% of the market share. A wide variety of very significantly, let's say, unsexy advertising assets, such as category banners and arches. And we've just recently been digitalizing over the last 2 years and have actually been failing with digitalization. And finally, we work with a lot of digital signage. Over the years, because we were involved in building and operating the Dubai Mall digital signage network in 2008, we've had a fairly good run of picking up other projects where we build digital signage networks for malls. I think one of the major differences we're seeing now that is quite relevant, I think, to this region is that when I first started in the UAE doing digital signs in 2008, 2009, 2010, even 11 and 12, we were retrofitting malls. We'd come in and we'd have to stick LEDs someplace here and somewhere there and LCDs. Now, every mall operator and I have a, let's say, large definition of what a mall. I'm talking even outdoor malls and outdoor areas, for families. Every mall, it's part of the planning now. And I'm getting called in at like the very early stages. So the digital signage networks that we're doing have really started to improve and look great and have really enhanced the shopper experience while creating a very good revenue stream for us and for malls. For instance, I don't know if some of you are familiar with the company Morass. It's owned by Sheikh Mohammed Al Maktoum. And they have City Walk, which is one of the better networks we're talking, I think, 250 signs. One of them is 100 meters long. So it's being built as part of the system, as part of the design from the beginning. So we're partnered with Morass, Eldar, Nakil, Mubadala, and the RTA, as well as Imar and Majid Al Futain. But let's get into why I'm here, not just to talk about myself. I wanted to tell you briefly about the market in the Middle East and how it's evolving. I think you guys in India here, you guys are living in a dream world when you talk about 7% growth and you talk about the market growing. We all know the region where I live in is troublesome, to say the least. Since 2014, the market's grown by that. That's what we're dealing with. It's from one crisis, whether it be Syria and Egypt, to now the UAE and Qatar and Saudi Arabia, to oil prices. There's always something. And that something's not always good. Usually it's not good, by the way. So we're looking at 1% growth in a 5-year period. That's a CAGR, by the way. The other aspect you see is physical or static or classic or whatever you'd like I like the way someone yesterday termed it as classic, is certainly, it's decreasing, whereas digital is becoming more and more important. And I would say normally that's good, but you see what's happening here in the UAE and across, and it's starting to happen elsewhere. But UAE, as we all know, is the driver of the Middle East and the most innovative economy in the Middle East. What we see is yields are going down. The market's not growing, the advertisers aren't growing, but for two reasons, yields are going down. One is the municipalities are trying to find different ways to make money, right? Oil money is starting to be a bit of a challenge. We all know that let's say the economies of the GCC are quite thirsty in many ways. The populace, they need money. So they're looking to find money. So now there's signs everywhere, and they're growing up. Municipalities, everyone's aggressive, everyone's dreaming of advertising dollars, as if the money just kind of falls from the ceiling. The second one is digitalization. In the past, for instance, right now on Sheikh Zayed Road, which I know most of you have probably been on, and you know it's the key asset in the UAE, Sheikh Zayed Road is going to be digitalized. There's a big tender going out, and there's two companies that are battling for it, our colleagues from France and a company called Backlight. That requires, I believe, 6 signs are going to be digital, large format signs. That's 6 signs times 2, double-sided. And according to the Dubai authorities, you can have up to 6 advertisers. We're talking now 36 advertisers have to be found in a market that's growing by 1%. You can imagine a guy like me, I'm a bit nervous. So is everyone else. 36 clients every month, rain or shine, usually shine. This is what we're going to be dealing with. Now I want to kind of drill down a little bit to the mall business, the business that I'm primarily in, my baby. The blue line, it's not labeled. I made a mistake today when I fixed the slide. We've all done it. The blue line is digital, and the red line is digital and static together, excluding promotional activities, which in my worldview, that's promotional activities are part of it. But so what we see here, what's relevant is here. The digital out of home as a percent of the total, let's say. We're seeing now, it used to be even when maybe in 2009, 10%, 20% of out of home in malls or money spent in malls was digital. Now it's up to 61%. And this goes only to 2017. I have pretty good visibility on 2018 between what I'm doing and between what my competitors are doing. There's not many of them. This is going to continue to come. Next year, it'll probably be 70%. So we're talking that very few people inside a mall are using static advertising these days. There's exceptions. Tenants tend to like big hanging banners near the store. But any brand, any car brand, any bank, any credit card, you name it, an FMCG, they've all made the conversion to digital. Now, they're not using digital to its ability, and we'll talk about that on my last slide and 2 more slides. But this is what's happening, and I think it's a good sign. You know, for me, as a mall guy, I need to differentiate myself from a lot of you guys, billboard guys. That billboards, to me, no offense, are you guys a bit of the enemy to me. And one of the ways I can differentiate myself from billboards is through digital advertising, through the live broadcast reports, the better analytics, and some of the things that everyone's been pounding away today about good content, good creatives, dynamic content, all these things. These are the things that I hammer home every day with my team, and we continue to differentiate ourselves from a cluttered media space and an increasingly cluttered media space, which I know in India, it's just driving around Mumbai. You guys are certainly in a cluttered media space. Now I wanted to shift. So now we looked at, that was advertising revenue going to the market. Okay, now I wanted to look at digital signage investment, which we're not just media owners here, there's a lot of guys who are selling screens and operating screens. So right here is the investments that we're seeing inside the UAE, inside malls. Like I said, I have a wide definition of what a mall is. I'm talking like even, for instance, the beach that some of you might be aware of, or Jumeirah Beach residents, I consider that a mall in my analysis. There's retail there, there's people there, close enough. What we've seen is a tremendous growth, where this year alone, we're looking at about $50 million in the UAE just spent on digital signs, not AEDs, dollars. Most of that is in itself Dubai. Year in and year out, malls and everyone is investing. Everything's becoming digital now. Like I said, it makes me a little nervous as a media owner. It makes me quite happy as a guy who often gets hired to put these signs in. But the market is certainly going there, and that's why I'm so sure that in the future, we're looking at 75–80% of all advertising revenue will be spent on digital in Dubai. 2008 is, by the way, a little bit of a blip. That's only booked things that I know for a fact are coming along. There'll be things that I've missed in 2018. So it won't be as high as in 2017, but it's going to be high, and the trend is already there, certainly with investments. Now, I wanted for my last slide to talk about, we just talked a little bit about the size of the market and where the market's going. And how I also try to differentiate myself from billboard companies. I have a unique position, I'm in a unique position as a mall to have really cool technology to target advertisers. A lot of things that we're all talking about, programmatic and content, all these things, it's really good for airports, and I think it's excellent for malls where people are relaxed, people have their phones out, people are, they're hanging out in the UAE and Saudi Arabia. It's hot. There's not much else to do in Saudi. Actually, there's nothing else to do in Saudi Arabia. People are hanging out in malls. They're happy to engage with your brand, learn all these things, all these buzzwords that we talk about in advertising. So I picked out 5 things. There's a lot of text there. Sorry about that. But these are the 5 trends that I'm seeing in the UAE or in technology around the world and how we're doing it in the UAE and what's working and what's not. You'll see a pattern here. I'm not making money, or no one's making money from a lot of these technologies, which is making me also a little bit concerned. We'll start with 5. We're looking at facial recognition software. We're all talk about the beauty of it. I run BroadSign on my system, and so we have Quivity. So I've used facial recognition many times on campaigns. There's a lot of challenges with it. We all love the idea, right, as media professionals. Someone walks in front of my screen, I know if they're male or female, I know how old they are, I know if they're happy and sad, and I hit them with an ad. My network can do that. The advertisers don't care, unfortunately, in the UAE. I can't monetize this right now. I have this beautiful technology, but people aren't willing to go there. Facial recognition, although it might be very successful in the States and other places, or facial recognition to change content for dynamic content. But also in the UAE and Saudi Arabia, we have security issues. I'm always afraid that I'm going to get arrested for it. And 2, we have some clothing restrictions that prevent facial recognition. So there's some things that I'm trying to address right now with facial recognition. Doesn't like a niqab, I'll be very honest. Number 4 is Wi-Fi analytics and Wi-Fi sponsorship. Obviously, Wi-Fi is almost, people perceive Wi-Fi around the world as almost a God-given right. So every mall has free Wi-Fi now. Etisalat and DOOH and SDC and Zain, all the big operators, telecom operators are now giving free Wi-Fi out. I'm using Wi-Fi analytics, not very much. I'm trying to upsell my clients. People aren't willing to pay for it. I've had one client be willing to pay for it where I was able, it was Audi, it was a car, it was a beautiful A7 in the center of Yas Mall in Abu Dhabi, the fanciest and most beautiful mall in Abu Dhabi. And I was able to tell them how many people are by your car, if they're using an Android or Mac, and I was able to tell them if they actually came into the car dealership, which they were quite pleased. I think we got like 35 people into the car dealership. I thought it was great. The clients are never happy though. I thought it was a brilliant campaign. But I'm also not able to monetize Wi-Fi and this stuff at this point, but certainly it's changing and it's going to be a good part of my business. Third one is wayfinding. Now wayfinding, you guys often maybe don't really think about it very much, but to me, a guy in a mall or a guy in an airport, this is a great opportunity, right? Almost every mall is digital wayfinding. And of course, there's a lot of opportunity, and this is even questionable if it's digital out of home or not, I guess. But you walk up to it, I hit shoes, and then it shows me where Aldo Shoes is, for instance, or it gives me an ad. This is happening. I've been selling it for 3 years. I've made 0 sales on it, by the way. And I think, once again, there's a hesitancy for advertisers to explore, to go out. It's a bit of a hassle for them. It's not like taking a lamppost artwork and just giving it to me and run on the digital network. It takes a wide variety of skills, and they're not there yet. Programmatic purchasing. Haven't heard a lot about it today. or yesterday, a few little mentions about it. This is an opportunity or a threat for a guy like me. You know, for me, for programmatic purchasing, we all want to capture those digital budgets. It's everyone's dream. You know, these digital budgets are big, they're huge. You know, we're talking about 6% of the market or 7% of the Indian market is out of home. We'd love to capture these digital these digital budgets. And programmatic purchasing is the way to do it. I did want to mention there is one company in the Middle East that's doing it right now. And a lot of people talk about it in the UK, in the States. Elevision, there's a company called Elevision that has screens inside lifts. Good network, about 140 or 50 Class A buildings. He's starting to experiment with programmatic buying. He's also watching it to make sure advertisers can't get a cheap back door into his screen. So his sales team is out selling regular ads, and then he's plugged into several ad platforms for programmatic purchasing. And I'm monitoring this quite closely. I believe Clear Channel has been, with a lot of fanfare, has been talking about having a programmatic component. I don't know. I'd be happy to hear if someone knows. I don't know if they're actually doing it, like really properly doing it. And the last one is dynamic content, what we talked about. You know, as I mentioned, my network can do it. My competitor, East DOOH, who has all the airports, who's a dominant position in the UAE and Saudi Arabia with airports. Backlight, which is a top-of-the-line billboard company, one of my competitors, has digital screens. All of our networks can do the things that we've been talking about the last 2 days, every one of them. I can't get my clients to day part right now. I've had a network for 9 years or 8, however long I've been running my digital network. I can't get people to day part. You know, McDonald's to give me a different ad in the morning than in the evening. Basic stuff. And it's this evolution of, you know, I think there's, as digital signage guys, whether you're a media owner or you're a supplier, I guess we always have to be leading, you know? And someone said, who was it yesterday? Someone said the idea, you don't want to be 5 steps ahead, you want to be a half a step or a step. I wrote it down. I thought it was a pretty clever thing because I've noticed the advertisers are always 5 steps way behind, you know, way behind technology. I think technology goes, and then guys like us go, or guys like me go, we go, and then I got to wait a couple of years. And right now we're in the waiting process, and this is one of those things that I think India will also, I think a lot of you as you convert your signs to being digital, you got to anticipate this. Just because your signs can do it, people may not want it. Anyways, I'm sorry to end on a downer, but thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Well, thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bill Fordyce. A loud round of applause.
Thank you.
It is question time. And of course, everybody, big smile. I think it's selfie time. Big smile. You can put your hands in the air so that, or not.
Thank you. I wanted to prove that I was working while I was in India.
All right, well, it's also time for us to get the questions to you. We have the OAC app, and of course the questions get uploaded onto that. And choosing the 3 questions that stood out for him, we now welcome on the stage none other than Mr. Shashi Sinha, who's the CEO of Laksha Hyderabad Airport Media. He's going to join us and take the questions across to you. So ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Shashi Sinha, he's going to make sure this is a rapid fire.
Take it easy on me.
Thank you, Bill Fordyce. You have been an extremely brave professional. We have been listening about DOOH, which is a big wave. But Bill has told us that we need to be careful while we make this transition. It is a long, winding road, and you're not in it as a gold digger. It is a strategic decision, and monies will happen only when you do things right in a strategic way over a sustained period. The other take that I take from your presentation, Bill, when you say that some of the malls you became successful was when you were not doing a retrofitting of media, which is the case in most of the destination media development cases here. We first develop these destinations and then start thinking, how do we retrofit media assets? So we need to change that. We have one example, sorry, no plugging, but Hyderabad Airport, we became partners with GMR at a very early stage, and the media units are integral part of the architecture and integral part of the experience. So that was a very, very nice take. There are many questions which people have sent for you to deal with. We have selected a few. I will ask the first question to you, which is sent by Mr. Chandrasekhar Rao of Lakshya Hyderabad Airport Media, my colleague, and he asked you a question. In your perspective, do you think it is good to have competition between classical out of OOH and digital OOH, or do you think that all need to work in sync to ensure sales for the brand and success for the brand?
I guess I'll give you a real world example. When my staff is out selling, they're out competing with, in Dubai and the UAE, giant hoardings. I think many of you guys have seen these things on Sheikh Zayed Road. These are massive billboards. I cannot argue with a client that those billboards are not of value, where you have a 400-meter long billboard, that these things are valuable and they're worth a lot of money. I don't know if they're worth what they're paying for it, but they're worth a lot of money. I try to complement them. I try to create digital out of home, position our network as a complement for specific medias and competitor against some medias. If you look at some small format that covers the whole country that I compete against, I say, hey, you don't need that at all. You're my competitor, give me that money. But if you look at how that I complement Facebook, I complement Google Ads, and I complement large hoardings and other assets.
Great. So related to that, there is a second question that we pick up sent by Amit Datta or Anit Datta from Coral Media. And he asked the question, which media format in India should be first to be digitized, billboards or bus shelters? I don't know if you've seen the billboards in India and bus shelters.
I don't know if I should even have an opinion. I've only been here for a couple of days. But for billboards would make me nervous. I see a lot of signs out on the street. And until there's a strong regulatory framework that can protect your asset, if I were a billboard guy, if you put a beautiful sign, you spend $400,000 on a sign, and then someone puts a sign right next to you, that would make me nervous. And someone had the evolution yesterday. I forget the evolution of branding. It went from spectaculars to media destinations like mine, and then further on. I think the answer I would have is that I think destinations are a better place where you can control. You have a contract with a destination owner or a mall owner, and you can control them. No one's going to put other signs in there. Billboards would make me, there's a lot of billboards in this country as just a third party looking at it.
Okay, so now the last question which we have, which has been sent to you by Mr. Ritesh Chaudhary. And as we have learned that once you digitize, perhaps this entire problem of measurement becomes much easier. Have you developed any measurement metrics for DOOH in your country? What language are you speaking?
Okay, I have the advantage, whereas a billboard you'd have to use GPS and other technologies. We have foot counters and people counters in most of our malls. So we're able to know who comes into our mall, and we're able to do some research, usually in partnership with the malls, to tell us who is in the mall itself. So now we, at least inside a mall and destinations, I know how many and who they are near my signs. Now we haven't taken that next step, which is using Wi-Fi analytics and using facial recognition to see if those millions of people that are in my malls, to see if they're actually looking at the screens and engaging in the screens. And that's the next step. I mean, that's where we're going, and I haven't got there yet. I'm trying. This is why some of these technologies are nice, but I got halfway, let's say.
Thank you. So that wraps up our session here.
Thank you.
Right. So, sir, we've got 3 questions that you answered. You've got to choose one to walk away with cash prize of 10,000 rupees.
I choose number 1.
Number
Question number
one.
1.
All right, congratulations, sir. Walking away with 10,000 rupees. A big thank you to Alak Advertising and Publicity joining us on stage right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it gets better and better, and prizes galore. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.